Hi, this is Mark at Skywagon University, and now we're doing another video on these series of videos of interesting planes with interesting owners. And this is a Lockwood AirCam that Mike Bell here built personally, every rivet himself, and it's a 2019. And we're going to have a look around it and see what's involved with this kind of exclusive tail dragger, tandem, pusher. What are the other things?
Homebuilt.
Homebuilt. I mean, there's a lot of differences. Twin engine Rotax plane. So Mike, thanks very much for bringing it up.
You bet.
Yeah, this is going to be good. So you built it yourself?
That's right.
Yeah. How does it start out? Is it just like sheet metal and rivets and you just have to start with plans?
When you get the giant box from them, it looks like the fuselage is built because they do build it on a jig.
Okay.
But it's put together with these tiny, soft aluminum rivets so that it's built straight.
Right.
And then they have you drill all these thousands of holes to the correct size and put clecos in them, and then take all that apart, drill out those little rivets, take the entire thing apart and prep it and prime it, and then put it back together.
And how long does it take to build? How long did it take you to build it?
It took me at least 5,000 hours, which is a lot more than what they say, and it's more than the guys that build them for a living can build them faster, but that's what it took me.
So what's that in years? A couple of years?
That's 2.5 years full-time, more or less.
Wow. Okay. Excellent. So tell us about it. What's its like the spec of it? It was designed originally for aerial survey because AirCam, right?
Right. Phil Lockwood, the designer, had flown with some nature photographers in Africa using ultralights, single engine ultralights, and they were filming elephants in the desert. So they would use this to go out, find the elephants, and figure out where they were going to go, and then come back later and film them when the light was good. So he did that a couple of times, and then they came back and said, we want to do this again in the Congo over this giant, hundreds of miles of jungle where there's no hope of you ever being found if you've lost an engine. And he had been thinking about a twin engine version of the Max Air Drifter, so he designed it, built it for National Geographic, and that was the AirCam.
And they filmed like some of the Planet Earth sequences from this,
right?
Didn't they?
They would have Phil in the back and then a cameraman in the front with a big 1990s vintage camera.
And that plane, like this one similarly, can have all of its upper cockpit and canopy windows removed.
That was all open.
So it's like a kayak,
right,
sitting in the air, and you're just in it out in the open.
That's correct.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, well let's walk around it and have a look at some of the detail. So it looks like there's a big combination of aluminum and fabric and different designs. Mike, tell us about how you built it.
The structure of the fuselage is pretty much like an RV, except it's all pulled rivets instead of solid rivets. So that's all aluminum. The gear is just a steel tube. And then the wings are sort of a ultralight style construction with tubular aluminum
So the leading edge is a tube?
The leading edge is a tube, and that's the spar, and then there's another one in the back. These ribs are really just little tubes stuck in battens sewn into the fabric.
You did every one of those stitches?
No, that comes already pre-made.
Like an envelope?
And in fact, you can cover the whole wing in about 30 minutes.
Oh, really?
It's like an ultralight. You just pull it on. It's attached to a giant rib at the root, and then that rib is screwed in towards the center of the airplane, and it pulls the fabric.
So you don't have to put dope or anything on it, stretch it.
You don't have to, but this has clear on it just to protect it for ultraviolet.
Oh, okay. And what's the big scoop? That looks like a cooling scoop.
That's a cooling scoop. Each engine has one, and the radiator's back in that.
Liquid cooled, of course, Rotax, yeah.
Right. The heads are liquid cooled.
And so it's very similar to like a Cub here with the struts.
Right.
And the spar is the leading edge. That's interesting.
Right.
And the zip here is this access just for maintenance?
Inspection panel.
Okay. And the wingspan is how long?
36 feet plus another 6 inches or so with the lights.
Okay, so that's similar to, I mean, if somebody owned one of these, this would fit in any hangar, any Cessna would fit
Pretty much, except it's tall.
Oh yeah, that is. It's got a giant rudder, which we'll come around to and have a look at the back in a minute. So the cord is huge too. I mean, it's very, very built to fly slowly.
There's a lot of wing for 200 horsepower.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. What are its like takeoff landing speeds? I mean, what do you sort of, if you really were short fielding it, what would be the numbers?
You can get it in and out of just a few hundred feet, and you'll see when we take off 2 or 3 airplane lengths it's flying.
Really?
Really.
And landing similarly?
Somebody that's really good at it, yes.
Okay. And as far as being a tail dragger, I mean, looking at the way it's designed, you're sitting way forward of the wheels. How does it feel as a tail dragger?
It's a little odd. You get used to it, but you don't have any reference in front of you, which makes it
does it sort of swing you a bit like this?
No, it's actually pretty benign.
Because of the giant rudder?
As tail draggers go.
Yeah, excellent.
We're talking about the performance. Lockwood has videos on their website showing this taking off on one engine at gross weight.
At gross weight, one engine?
Even on amphibious floats.
Really?
So it does climb very well on one engine. And if you lose an engine, all you do is go to full power on the other engine.
Just carry on.
There's nothing else to do. There's no props to feather. There's nothing to clean up.
You just let it go, and that engine just stops.
They stop. Rotax.
Because it's a Rotax, just bang, yeah.
They just stop.
Yeah. Okay, let's have a closer look at the engines.
Okay.
So power, 2 Rotaxes. Tell us about those, Mike.
Right. These are Rotax 912 ULS, 100 horsepower carbureted, which is what's on 90% of home builts and light sports that use a Rotax. 2,000
TBOs?
Correct.
Yeah. 100 horsepower each. Okay. And you were telling me earlier that there's an option to go bigger if you had to?
You can have these bored out, which I think is 115 horsepower. You can also go with the IS engines, which are fuel injected, but they're still 100 horsepower, or you can do the turbocharged one, which is 115 horsepower.
And liquid cooled, so no cowling needed?
Right.
Yeah.
There's no excuse not to do a good pre-flight.
Yeah, exactly. You can see everything. And then you were saying that you can take off on one engine if you had to?
Right.
Is that why they're so close together?
The factories demonstrated. I wouldn't do it.
Oh, okay. Because they're very close together.
They're close together.
It's not going to have a lot of asymmetrical thrust.
That's correct. It's very benign on one engine.
Giant vertical fin.
Right. That's all metal, and the rudder is fabric, sort of like Cub style structure.
It's like, what, 9 feet tall?
8.5 feet tall.
8.5 feet tall. So that would be the restriction, to put it in a hangar if there was anything on the height. Yeah.
The fact that it has enclosure, it's even a little taller. That fin on the top makes it taller.
Okay. So metal vertical fin, fabric rudder.
Right.
And leading edges look like they're aluminum.
They're aluminum.
And this is
This
fabric.
is all regular Stitz fabric.
Yeah, and is it, why is the horizontal in the middle? Is that just for prop wash to give it more effective?
I assume that's why. Gets it up off the ground. Some of this is for seaplane operations.
Oh yeah.
Having the giant
Because it can go on floats as well, like you were saying. And this has a float kit?
Correct.
All of them have float kits?
They don't all have them, but this has all the float kits installed.
All right. And so the tail wheel, it's steerable but free castering?
Right. It's a maul tail.
Maul, yeah. And it's a pretty docile tail dragger too?
Yes.
Does your insurance company think that?
No.
Okay. So originally these were completely open, where there was, like, you're literally sitting in a kayak, like I said earlier, but this one's enclosed. So Mike, show us how you'd get in and out, and baggage and access and canopy and everything.
Okay. For the front, you just lift here, and it's got the F-18 style canopy, and it's pretty easy to get in. And you're in it.
So that is how it would be if there was no top on.
Right,
You'd be
there'd
flying
be a little
like
windshield in front of you, and that's it.
That is fantastic.
So this is just 100% open.
And a very tight seatbelt.
Yes.
Wow.
Check it twice.
Yeah. So the front, you made that look simple. Let's see what it's like getting in the back, Mike. I'd try it, but I'm going to let the pro do it because I'm going to do it later.
You just stand on the gear leg, sit here, and basically just fall in, and then get around all the stuff to have yourself in the cockpit.
Bam. And then behind you, that giant area, that can be a third seat.
Right.
You were saying.
Mine's set up for baggage. The newest version of this has a third seat conversion in the back.
Excellent. What's its, since we're on the subject, what's its empty weight, useful load, gross weight?
The empty weight is about 1,100, and the gross weight's about 1,700.
So 600
So
pounds
about
useful.
600 useful.
And how much fuel does it hold?
28 gallons.
And so the engines burn, what, 4 or 5 an hour?
At cruise, the total is about 4 or 5 an hour.
Total?
Total.
2 or 3 gallons an hour each?
2 or 3 gallons an hour each. You run at very low power settings in this airplane. This will fly all day long, 70 miles an hour at the speed most people do their run-up.
Wow.
So
Wow.
it's just
so
a
28
little
gallons.
above idle. Good 6+ hours.
That's amazing. Okay. And useful load of 600 pounds.
Right. The enclosure will eat up 40 or 50 pounds of that.
But then you don't have to bring coats with you, which are heavy too.
That's right.
All right, excellent. So let's have a look in the back.
Okay. Then for the baggage area, both sides open up like this. And then you have access to everything back here.
Is it very sensitive to center of gravity?
Not hugely, surprisingly. You also have access here through this little clear panel to some of the electronics for the engine is back there. And you can inspect without having to remove that panel.
That's a big baggage area too, isn't it?
It is.
What's under the panel there?
These panels are just storage.
Oh, okay.
Originally they were for the rectifiers for the engine, but I converted them to storage.
Oh, okay. So both sides open for the baggage.
Right.
But only the right side opens here and the whole canopy obviously
Both
there.
Sides open here too.
Oh, they do?
For
Okay.
the
So all sides open on all...
It
Okay, good.
completely opens, correct.
Excellent.
Clear?
Voltage.
And do the same for the right. Clear?
Voltage.
It's always a balancing act with the Rotax until the oil temp gets up to 120. They want the RPMs below 2,500.
Oh, okay.
But you don't want them below about 1,800 because the gearbox doesn't like that. And the brakes don't like more than about 1,500.
Oh, so you got to just nurse it along in that narrow window.
There's a sweet spot around 1,800 that's usually pretty good.
But people always ask us about the road. This is the best view of the road anybody's ever had. This is actually just a taxi access road at Placerville Airport. It's not really a road.
Right.
It's just photogenic for the planes rather than... cars don't really drive on it. But they always wonder why we're on a road. So conventional steering, just with a little bit of rudder on the tail wheel at the moment? Yeah.
But also you can use differential thrust.
Oh yeah.
So the book value is 14 miles an hour for demonstrated crosswind component, but guys who know what they're doing can fly in a lot more crosswind using differential thrust. And when you're just sitting, then you rev up the RPMs a little more to save the gearbox.
So what do you run them at in flight, these? I've seen them being cruised at 5,200 RPM.
Yeah, the typical single engine Rotax powered cruises 52 to 54. And I typically am cruising 3,800 to 4,200.
Okay, that's how you get the excellent economy.
Right. You would actually blow right through V&E at full throttle, straight and level.
Wow. So is it just a conventional mag check, but two of them?
Pretty much.
No.
I check my lights are on. Flaps are up. Trim is set. Pumps are off for now. Mags are on. Trim safe is on. All the instruments checked. Altimeter is set. We have full fuel. Now close the canopy for a run up. Run up to 3,500. And now run the right one up to 3,500. Mags check good, all the numbers look good.
Perfect.
And then I go through the paper checklist, make sure I didn't miss anything. Oil temp's good, flight control's good, instruments check. Fuel quantity is good on both. Canopy is shut and locked.
Same here.
Box pumps are on and working. Flaps are up, trim is set. We're both belted in.
Yep.
Ready to go.
Ready to go.
Placerville traffic AirCam 84 Mike is departing 23 left close traffic, 23 Placerville.
Placerville traffic 0963 is 4 miles west of the airport.
So do you think she'll use what, 100 feet?
Yeah, with two of us and uphill, 100 feet or so. It's 82 degrees out. Do a final check here. 3,800. All looks good. This is a VY climb. The VX climb is pretty scary.
That is amazing how high we are already. We're not even halfway down the runway. We're at pattern altitude. We're literally at pattern altitude now, and we're not even over the end of the runway. The visibility is fantastic.
I'll show you. This is a low cruise mode. Stealth mode is very quiet when it flies over.
So you're at 3,500 RPM. Doing 70.
Also traffic, 6565A, left
and we're burning 4.9 gallons per hour total.
That is very economical for a twin.
And then to go somewhere, run it up to 4,500 or so.
And burn like 6. Can I feel how she feels on the aileron?
Okay, you got it?
I've got it. Oh, it's nimble.
And possible traffic red for Wattis. We're about 15 northwest.
That is excellent.
Out of 12,000. We'll be setting up for a right base for runway.
Yeah, Matt, you've got it.
Yeah, I've got it.
Placerville traffic, R20963 is an H60, 6 miles to the northwest. We're operating at 2,400 feet on station, Placerville.
Placerville AirCam is turning left, downwind to base 23, full stop Placerville. Pumps are on. That's the pre-landing checklist.
Are the pumps always on these Rotaxes?
Not in this setup.
Okay.
The Van's RV12 is the only one I know of where they run them continuously for the carbureted engines. Final 2-3 Placerville. Then for a wheel landing, come down final about 65.
And possible traffic at red for Wattis now 8 to the north. We're just going to overfly midfield. That's your left downwind 23 Placerville.
What would be like a super stall, low, tail down, 3-point speed?
Touchdown around 40-ish.
Okay.
Stall speed, 45-ish.
Perfect. Excellent. Oh, the takeoff performance was unbelievable.
Amazing, isn't it?
And then if you were just going A to B, for the weekend, do you just set it up at like 80 miles an hour?
Right, I can, if the air is reasonably smooth, I can cruise top of the green, 85, true about 90, 95.
Okay. So mate, we made it. Thanks, that was excellent.
Good flight.
A very unique plane, and much gratitude to Mike for bringing it here. He lives locally. This is Mark from Skywagon University. If you like the video, there's a subscribe button down there you can subscribe on. There's a notification bell. Click on that because we're going to be doing a lot of these interesting planes like this and others. And if you've got one yourself that's interesting, call me and we can do the same sort of thing about it. But thanks very much for watching, and Mike, thank you very much for bringing it.
You're welcome.